See everybody online doing well. Yes, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another Monday, another class. So is everybody ready to start today's classes? Yeah?
Yes.
All right. It's great to see all of these reactions online as well. So before we begin with today's class, before I ask if any of you have read last week's portions, how was your weekend? Nice. You all had a good time? Did you do anything that made you happy during the weekend? Okay, what did you do?
Preaching the gospel.
You?
Preaching the gospel.
Preaching the gospel, okay. That's great. What else? What else did you do? Played volleyball. Wow, that's great. Anything else? What else did you do? You watched an animated movie? Which one did you watch? Oh, is it nice? Oh, that's great. Okay. So now for the actual question, did any of you read? You read yesterday night. Okay, so long as you've read, that's okay. But you've all read something, at least. The ones online, did you all read anything? And do you all have
No,
any doubts?
no, ma'am.
No. Okay. All right. Did somebody read? Okay. The class is silent. All right. So please make sure that you read, because soon after this, I may be posting a few assignments. They would be, but more than assignments, it would be more of a practical in the class, watching and calling people up here to do some demonstrations. We can also have the ones online doing a few demonstrations with all of the skills that we've learned, because this is one class that even if you're going to study, you will remember, but then it mostly comes to how well you're going to practice. The ones at the back, can you see me, or am I blocked by the camera? You can just move to the side if the line of view is being blocked. You can see. Okay, all right. So yes, like I was saying, it's a very practical lesson. Like I'm sure with the other subjects that you're learning right now, there's a lot to remember, right? It's the same thing with this, but this is one subject that there's a lot of practical things that we will have to do. Okay, so before we start, can somebody tell me what we did last class and what did we stop with? Pardon? What did we do in the last class? Somebody quickly. Oh no. If none of you remembered what we did in the last class, then this is going to be trouble. Pardon? Verbal communication. Yes, we did a little, and we'll actually continue more on that today. That's good. What else do you remember from the last class? Do you remember some of the formulas that we looked at? Okay, what are these different formulas? Three V's plus a B. Okay, what else? We looked at some counseling skills. Okay. All right. Anything else before we begin today? Solar. Great. Solar. and body language. Now, can somebody explain what solar is? What is the full form of solar? What does that acronym break itself into? It's there on your books. Okay. Sitting established and relaxed. What else? What is O? Op- Opening posture. And how does opening posture look like? Okay, that's great. And what does lean slightly mean? How would that look like when you're paying attention? Slight lean. And establishing eye contact. I think that's something that's you already know. And being relaxed when you're sitting relaxed, right? Okay, just give me a second. The screen sharing thing is giving me a bit of a problem. All right. Okay, so today we're going to start with verbal communication, which is on page 33. So it's just a continuation of what we did in the last class. And like some of you have said, we started with a few of the skills that we need to learn as counselors, right? On how to begin and what are the different things that we can do. So out of all of the skills, the first skill was attending skills, right? And what is the basic purpose of attending skills? You can look at your notes and tell me, what does attending skills do? It encourages them to open up and for them to ease into the conversation. Okay. And after attending skills, we looked at the different kinds of attending skills, like some of you have said 3 V's and a B, which is followed by our vocals and how our tone of voice can affect how the counselee would listen and react to certain things. Then we looked at body language, of how we should be reacting to them and how we should sit. And today we're going to look at verbal communications, right? So when you're looking at verbal communication, what is the meaning? What do you think is the meaning of verbal communication? I think it's in the word itself. What is verbal communication? Reporting back. Okay. What do you use when you report back? Words. Right? So verbal communication basically means what we're doing right now, but on a slightly different level when you're communicating with your clients during a session, right? So when you're looking at verbal communication, one of the key things as a counselor is reporting, right? So when you are reporting, you're basically replying back to them exactly what they've said, but in a different manner. And we're going to look at that as we're running through different exercises, right? So what we do is we try to reflect, which means we try to tell them what we think we've understood of what they've explained, right? So a few different kinds of verbal communication we'll be looking more into detail in the next chapter. But very briefly, we're going to look at the first one, which is reflection of feelings, right? When somebody is saying something and you try to pick out what is the feeling that they are experiencing through this. So, like if you look at the first example that is there in your box, right? It's written, I am going to leave him. And you, as a counselor, you can pick out that when somebody is saying, I think I'm going to leave him, I don't want to stay here anymore, you can sense their frustration when they're talking, right? So when you're picking out on the feeling, you're picking out on the emotion that they are going through. So what you're saying is, I can sense that you're frustrated, right? Let's just look at the second one and then I'll leave the rest for you to do it on your own. And we shall discuss them in the next class, okay? So the second one says, my partner never listens to me. What do you think could be the feeling underlying somebody saying, my partner never listens to me? Misunderstood, okay? Irritated. Good. What else? Ignored. Could be sadness. All right. What else? What other emotions can you pick? Frustrated. Very good. What else? Anger. Right? So, depending on their tone, you'll be able to identify whether it's anger, sadness, or frustration. Right? If somebody is angry, they'll come and say, "My partner never listens to me anymore." Or if somebody is sad, they will say, "My partner never listens to me anymore. I don't know what to do." Right? So, based on the tone of their voice, you'll be able to identify those emotions, right? So, the other two, you do it by yourself. Okay, we will look into that in next class. So all of these things, there's a reason why I'm not posting all of assignments and everything now. Okay, because later together at the end, we'll be doing many things that we will make sure we're identifying all of these things. We'll see if we can do something today as well. Okay, but just remember all of these key points, right? Now, the next one is paraphrasing, right? So paraphrasing basically means replying back to the person, but in a different and in a concise form. Have you done paraphrasing in English literature when you were in school? Have you done that?
Yes.
Yes. So it's basically the same thing, right? So the only thing is, instead of reading something and paraphrasing that, you're paraphrasing somebody's words. So we will look into examples of this a little later, but I'll just define what it means for you. It simply means to restate whatever somebody is saying. You're saying the same thing, but in just different words, right? So, for example, somebody might be telling you what they did in the morning and what happened in the afternoon at work, and in the evening, what happened. They must have gotten into an argument. So, they would have been speaking for 10 minutes. Your response to everything would be within 3 minutes. Right? If somebody talks to you for 10 minutes, your response to them would fall under 3 minutes. So you're concising everything very short, right? And we will try to do that now in person. We'll see how that works. All right. And next is clarification. Clarification basically means if your client is saying something and you clarify or you try to see whether you've understood it correctly. Right? So if somebody says, like in the box you see, the first example is the counselor saying, "I'm going to leave him," right? So you clarifying that, if I'm telling you, "I think I'm going to leave him," what do you think? What would you think? Why am I saying that? If I tell you I'm going to leave my relationship, I don't want to be there anymore, why would you think I'm saying that? I might be hurt and I'm done, right? So taking that example, you as a counselor, then you could say, are you hurt from the relationship that you wouldn't want to try to fix it anymore? Are you tired? Right? So which means, as I'm saying these things, you're having a few assumptions in your head, right? So you as a counselor clarify whether those assumptions are right. Sometimes I might, or what if you would think that, what if I'm seeing somebody else? Right? And you have that doubt in your head. So then you could ask me, do you think that there's somebody else in the picture? That's why you don't want to be with them anymore, right? So in the clarification process, you're basically trying to address what they've said with the doubts that you have so that you get a clearer understanding of what it's like, right? And the last bit of it is summarization. So when you're summarizing, usually it happens at the end of the session, where before the client leaves, you tell them everything from beginning to end in a very concise form of the different things that they have done, right? So when you look at the next page, there are 3 different types of summaries, right? One is focusing summary, which you use it at the beginning of the session. So normally if somebody comes and you as a counselor, you've decided that, okay, today, based on what you told me last week, suppose the client has come to you and maybe they want to talk about their physical health, they want to talk about their academics, and they want to talk about their relationship with their parents, right? They've brought out these 3 things. But you know as a counselor that you have to address one thing at a time, right? So before the client comes in, what you can start by telling them is, okay, based on what you've told me last week, we see that there are 3 different areas: your academics, your health, and your parents. Which one would you like to focus on today? And we'll begin from that, right? So basically, you're giving them a summary, very short, less than a minute, of what happened in the last session and how you'd want to proceed with today's session, right? The next one is the signal summary, which you use through um, reflection of feelings, reflection of meaning, to help them identify that, yes, I've understood what you're saying. I understand that you're hurt. I understand that you're frustrated. And this is what you want to do next, right? And the last one is the planning summary, which is at the end of the session, where you decide with your client how you would move on into the next session. Suppose the entire session you've talked about physical health and what are the different foods you can eat. Maybe they've thought of different exercises that they can do. So at the end of the session, what you would tell them is, okay, so today we've discussed about physical health. These are the things that we would try out, and let's look into them in the next session, right? I'm just being very brief in all of these things because we'll be looking into them in much detail in the next chapter. So why do you think summaries are important? Why do you think, as a counselor, it's important for you to summarize all of these things, sometimes in the middle and sometimes towards the end of the class session, not class? What happens when somebody is talking to you for an hour? You're feeling sleepy? All right, that's one. What else? Focus. Correct. What else? You said focus. Not being able to focus, right? What else? So we have sleepy, ability to focus. What else? A lot of information is pumped. And for the most of it, if somebody is coming to you in a counseling session, you will have to be extremely focused because you'll have to remember all the details. So maybe you might not be sleepy, or sometimes the counselee will not be sleepy. They'll tell you everything, but you're tired. And especially if you've had 3-4 sessions, you're listening to the 5th person, your brain is exhausted, right? So summaries not only help the client, they also help you. Because then if you are also talking to them, you'll not fall asleep, right? You know that you'll have to remember. So summaries are important. Why? Because of the amount of information that is being pushed in. Sometimes your clients will jump from different stories, right? Maybe they're talking to you about, yesterday I went out with a friend and we were in this cafe and this is what we ate. But also the last time when I was in this cafe, I had a fight with another friend. Now there are 2 stories, same cafe. But where are they focusing on, right? But then you can't stop them right in the middle. So after they finish telling about what has happened in that cafe, you summarize it back to them saying, yes, you were saying that when you were in this cafe, when you were with that one friend, this was what you ate. But with this other friend, you were having an argument. So where do you want to move? Right? Because they might forget that they even brought up that friend in the first place, right? So you summarizing that to them gives them the direction of where they should go, whether they want to talk more about the food or about the argument that they had, right? And it helps you transition from one stage to another. Because if they're choosing that as a problem, then you know that that is something that you need to address and find possible solutions to. Make sense? Easy? Yes, no. Okay, little blank. So we're going to do an activity before we start in the next one. So remember these few key points, especially this last bit that we will be talking about is barriers to active listening. And then we shall have 2 people come here from class so that even the ones online can see how demonstrations can work before we start with the students online. So barriers in active listening, right? Like some of you have said, lack of focus or daydreaming. If somebody is sharing their problems to you and what you're thinking is, after this session, I'll go and have ice cream because I'm too tired. And if the entire time you're trying to figure out the menu of the ice cream and you're like figs and honey or ramen or raisins or blackcurrant or strawberry, you're going to lose half of what they're telling you, right? So try not to daydream, focus, right? And how you can make yourself focus, ask them questions, look into their eyes, in a good way. Don't be creepy when you're looking to their eyes. But ask them questions, do different activities together, right? Sometimes when somebody is telling you that um, this has happened to me, you would be thinking, oh, this has happened to me too. And sometimes in your head, you've gone into your own experience, you're remembering all of those things again, when then later you're like, oh, I've lost track of what they're saying. So remember that sometimes they will bring up things that will trigger your own memories, but try to come back and focus on them. The other one is rehearsing. This is very important, thinking about what you will say next, right? This normally begins when you're first starting out as a counselor. This is something that will happen very often, right? Because at the back of your head, you might be thinking, okay, what is the next question I should ask? How do I say it? What should I do next? So sometimes when you're thinking about these things, you might lose track of what they're saying because then you're inside your own head thinking about it, right? Next is judging. You're trying to judge them for what they're saying. Because so if somebody said that, I've been missing college 3 days in a row because I've been waking up late. And the first thing in your head is like, oh, probably they're either talking to somebody or maybe they're scrolling online or they're busy chatting with their friends. You're saying that in your head, but now you're making a judgment on them, right? So if you're making a judgment, it'll affect you in two ways. One is you'll not be able to focus on what they're saying. Next is you'll start having a bias, which is you'll start thinking about them based on your perspective, not on what is the reality, right? So these things will hinder. So the last one when it comes to attending is attending by observation, which is just looking at how your client is doing throughout, right? Now, if in the session, at the beginning of it, you're all happy and you're fine, you're sitting, when suddenly when you start talking about maybe an accident that happens, I see that you look very uncomfortable. You're not looking at me in the eyes and you're looking around everywhere and talking to me. Your legs start to shake, right? And you're sitting small, right? So remember when we were looking at solar, what does a relaxed posture look like? Your client is also sitting straight, right? And relaxed. But if they're talking about something and suddenly they start sitting like this, then you can sense that they're tense, right? What if they're constantly moving their legs when they're talking? It could be either they're anxious or maybe they are thinking about something else, right? So many things can be viewed just from observation. So now when I'm observing all of you in class, I can see some of you are actually attentive. Some of you are trying to bring your focus back because you know that you have to listen. Some of you are there 50-50. When I'm catching your attention on certain words, you're listening, then you're back out, then you're listening, right? So I can see all of this through my observations of what you are, right? So with that, we come to the end of this chapter. And we shall be moving on to the second part, which is our counseling skills part 2, looking at responding skills, questioning skills, and personalization skills, right? But before we get into this, we will be doing a quick activity just to wake everybody up. And this would be based on what we just did just now, like the last few things on verbal communication and solar, open posture, vocal tracking, the 3 V's and a B, maintaining good eye contact and things like that. Okay. So when I call two people here, understand that you will not get it right in the first sitting, right? There will be a few things you'll get it right, some things you might forget. So what I want all of us to do is when the two people will come here, I'll give you a scenario. So basically, one will have to pretend that you're having these problems. The other person will be the counselor. What everybody else will do is I would want you to analyze the setting, right? See whether they're able to sit properly, whether the counselor is sitting relaxed or whether the counselor looks tensed. If all of those things are there, I would want you to make a note of that so that we understand what we should do, what we should not do. Okay. And for the two people who will come here, it doesn't mean it's a direct attack to you. All right. Like these are all things that as counselors, it happens to everybody. It will happen. It's inevitable. It will happen to everyone. Okay. So before I call two people here, just a few things I would want you to make a note of is the first thing is check their attending skills. Okay. See whether the counselor can encourage the counselee to talk. Right. And how will they encourage? By asking questions, saying, Yes. All right. What else? All of those things. The second thing that I would want you to look at is the three V's and a B, whether they can maintain good eye contact, whether they can sense their emotions when they're talking, whether they can ask them the right questions. Okay. Next is the reflection. How much can the counselor reflect? Whether they can pick up on the meaning or their feelings, anything. It could be literally anything from here, but just make a note if the counselee could do these things. Okay, are we ready? No more eye contact with me in the class. Okay, so who are the two people who would volunteer? So the thing is, everybody would have to do it at some point. The sooner you finish this, the more I will not call out your name towards the end. But it's just for the first demo, I would just prefer somebody from the class so that the students online can also see it visually, because then when they do it, they can also kind of have an understanding later, because we mostly can't see them. Could be network issues sometimes. So don't look down at your books. Look at me in the eye, and two of you come here. Somebody from the first row, somebody from the second row for now, and then I'll just keep rotating. So somebody from the first row who's coming. Whoever's going to say yes first, I'll allow you to choose whether you want to be counselor or counselee. That's your gift. Okay, come. Yeah, just so that they'll see. We'll put two chairs. Come, come. And one else from the second row. Come, come quickly. All right, come, come. Raju, you'll come. Okay. All right. I'll just stand. I'll stop sharing. All right. Try to sit so that the people online will also see.
Rajana is not visible. I will be constant.
Okay, so that's perfect. So both of you would have to come inside the frame, okay, so that they see. So for today we have, can you just set who you are on the microphone so that everybody online will know?
Hello class, this is Raju. Nice to meet you.
Okay, can you tell them what's your name?
Hello everyone, my name is Vanilla.
Okay, so today we have Raju and Vanilla who'll be doing a demonstration for us. But since Vanilla gave, like she said that she would do it first, so would you want to be the counselor or the counselee?
Counseling.
Counselee. Perfect. So what is going to happen now is Raju is going to be the counselor. So do you remember the few things that you have to remember when the counselor is doing certain things? You can check from, start from here. Okay, all of these things and attending skills. You can use the book. All right. So now, Vanilla, I want you to, so you're a student, you're having trouble sleeping, and you're not able to eat well. At the same time, you're having an argument with your friend. So these are your three problems, okay? So what Raju now is going to do is be the counselor, and then he'll take it away. So so both of you start. So introduce her and tell her things like that.
Hi Vanilla, how are you?
Yeah, hi,
You
I'm
can
good.
sit. Hi Vanilla, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Please
Hopefully.
sit.
Thank you.
So, how are you doing?
Hopefully, everything is going good.
Uh, what what you bring you here?
So, the reason why I came here is I have three problems about myself. So, when I'm sitting in my class, I was having sleeping problem.
Okay.
If it is when I'm not interested about the topic, I'll get so much
Okay.
sleep.
Oh.
I'll try to control like anything,
Mm-hmm.
but still I'm having the problem.
Okay. Seems like it's very common problem. It's happened with everyone else, I guess. Uh, so, if you're facing this problem, when I used to have this problem, so what I used to do, I used to make a note. Everything. If I know something this already, so I used to make notes and I used to write, and it stopped me to sleep, fall in sleep in class. So it was helpful for me. So
Can I have a microphone? Is that okay? Just give me 1 second.
So the way Raju welcomed Vanilla and made her sit and made her comfortable was good, and the way he started the conversation also, asking how she is doing and also what brings you here, that was good. And Vanilla also, like, I don't think that that's an ideal scenario. Like, I have three problems. She was prepared, so prepared counseling. So yeah, that was good. That was good. Um, but the thing is, as you said, the counselor should have investigated more, like where it started. From, like, do you always feel sleepy in every class? So from which standard it started? Do you sleep like this only in classes or anywhere in other situations also? And he went on to say about his thing, uh, but it's not about us as counselors, it's always about you. They have come to find the solution to their problem. So sharing about your life, okay, but that's somewhere behind. So yeah, you already made a judgment about her and started giving a solution without investigating furthermore why she has that problem.
All right. Thank you, Vinay. Anybody else with any other insights? They will continue to the next problem also, but for now. Okay, so what Vinay said was right, right? That was a very good observation, which was that when the counselee came in, before asking more about, okay, why did this happen? How did it happen? What the counselor, see, from the point of view of the counselor here, the counselor wanted to help and tell them that, yes, these things normally happen, that's okay. But could you sense the tone? When the counselor said that, it's a common problem, it did not come out as it wasn't too gentle, right? And immediately after that, it went on to trying to get a solution. So what we will have to remember here is, we may know the solution, but then we'll have to help them get the answer. So if you know the solution could be taking notes, right? Which I think it's good, because most of you also take notes to stay awake. Correct? So what you could tell the counselee is, okay, if you are to stay awake in class, what can help you? Right? Then maybe they will say that, okay, maybe I can take notes, maybe I can drink water, maybe I can get out if I'm feeling sleepy, go for a quick 2-minute walk and come back to class. Right? So these are answers that we already know. Right? But what is important for us to see that the counselee should come up with those solutions. So as the counselor, what you should do is ask them, okay, if you're sleepy in class, what could help you stay awake? Now, those are the right questions to ask. Are you understanding? Okay. Pick one of the other two problems that you have. What is the other two? Issue with your friend, right? Now let's pick up the issue with your friend. Now let's see how this conversation goes. Keep those things in mind, okay, Raju? Ask her more questions. So your issue could be, so maybe you can identify what is happening at college.
Not getting the question.
So now ask her what has been happening.
Vanilla, so what is has been happening in college?
So the thing is, we used to go to college every day because student, no? So I have one of my friend. So she used to ask me every time what I'm noting in classroom, what I'm writing in classroom. The reason is she will not listen, and she will not write anything in class while going. Maybe she will sleep or something else she will do. She will not note anything, but she will ask me every time. Not it's not like once or twice. Every time she used to ask me. So in that, I'll get angry and I will frustrate also. I don't know why, but it's happening again and again, and I'll argue with her. So
Okay. So because of she's not writing, or like she's not uh, giving her focus in class, that's why.
yeah, she's not giving focus on classes, but still she asking me notes.
Okay. And what do you think, like you want to tell, or like you want to um, teach her something, kind of like she can like attend properly class, like.
Actually, the thing is, I want her to attend the class, and also in the sense, I will say to her, "Why you are not listening, class?" Then, but still you are asking notes from me. But she will not listen what I am saying. Still, the same thing she will follow every day.
Okay. Did you ask her like any problem is there in her life, any disturbance because of maybe that she's not attending class properly, she's not making notes, anything can disturb her, anything like that?
I didn't notice that, But when I'm telling to her to listen lectures and all, she won't respond for that, but she will ask notes. That is the problem.
Okay, so what do you think? What you can uh, do to her, like that she can understand you? She should write the notes and
Yeah, that's good, but I don't think she will change, but I want to change my problems. The way I'm getting frustration, the way I'm getting angry.
also any like do you feel anything wrong with her? Like any fight happened with you guys anytime? That's why
Before nothing happened in between me and her, but only about this when she asking notes and all. Only that's
All right, let's just give them a clap. They did well. Okay. All right. So, based on how this discussion went, what do you think was different?
As the issue of two classmates and one not been attentive in the classes and repeatedly asking for notes from the other colleague.
Your voice is not audible.
Your voice is muted, ma'am.
Okay. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So we could see that in that scenario, there was a problem with the counselee with her friend, right? So how was this interaction different from the previous interaction? Could you pick up the different things that he was trying to say to get her to talk more? Yes. So what were the different things that he was saying to make her talk? What were the skills that he used? There were some skills that were very clear that he did. He was attending. And how did he attend? He was purposefully asking you certain questions, right? What else did he do? He was trying to clarify the doubts, right? He had a few doubts whether did she try to resolve it in a certain way before, right? So that was what he also asked her, which clarified his doubt, right? But also gave her more insight in order for her to think whether she had actually tried doing that before or not, right? What else? What else did he do? What else did you do? Because what you did here was right, but can you try to pick like what are the things that you did, where it fits, and what were the things that you did? One of the most simplest one that he did was active listening, right? He was listening to everything that she was saying, and then he started picking out on a few things, right? One thing that he picked up on was when she was explaining about her friend, he asked whether there was a fight, right? But if another thing that could have been picked up there was you sound frustrated. So what has been happening here is when you are asking something about somebody, right? I'm sure that in your head you've remembered a few things. But what is important for us to remember is the paraphrasing bit. Like tell them back what they said so that they know that you were listening. Right? So for example, when she was saying that like my friend, she keeps coming to class, but she's sleeping throughout the classes and she's not writing her notes, right? So what you could say back is, I can see that she's been sleeping in class and she's not paying attention. That must not be nice for you, right? Because you could sense that like there was some slight anger in the tone of how she said it, right? That She's not paying attention. She's taking everything from me. I'm trying to talk to her. She's still not listening. So when she's saying all of these things, you can sense that there is a frustration in her voice because this person is just not listening. Right? Understandable? Okay. So when we move into the next chapter, we will be touching more on these skills, and we will be doing a few more drills as well. Right? So everybody else, just be ready, be prepared, because now any two people would be called. In class, I'm going to go with that rotation now. It's going to be the second row and the last row. Okay, somebody from there will have to come. So you will have to keep coming. It's a disclaimer. Everybody would have to keep talking and doing many of these things because this is how you learn, right? Counseling is a skill that, as much as you understand through theory, a lot of it comes through practical practice. Because when you're finally sitting here, I think a few things that would be running through your mind. Did you think what you were supposed to ask her next? Right? That is going to come. You will be thinking, firstly, you'll have to remember everything else that she's saying. Next is you'll be thinking, what do I ask her next? Or what should I ask him next? Or what would be the right thing to say? Because he's understood that from the previous exercise that we did, him giving his solution at the beginning wasn't working because she stopped talking, right? The very fact that he gave the solution, she was just like, okay, I don't think I need to talk anymore, right? So all of these things you will not know unless you practice. Okay, so I'll just repeat a few things for us to remember before we move on into the next. Of course, we will be going in detail now before we start our drills again. We will be looking through responding skills, how to ask questions, and what are the different things that we could do, and the different kinds of how not to ask questions also. So we will be running through that, and then we will pick up again with exercise drills. Okay, so I'll just quickly run through a few things that we should remember when we are first starting. So do you remember the case of Dennis? Do you remember how we got Dennis's history? Who you are, what you're doing, where are you from? All of those things also remember, right? Remember how to take the history, remember how to ask them about themselves, right? Because normally when a person comes to you, they will not begin by saying like, I have this many problems. They'll come and then when you come and tell them, please sit down, hi, hello, how are you? They'll say, I'm good, thank you. If they're polite, they'll be, how are you? It'll end at that. Then you'll have to ask them, okay, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, right? Where are you from? What do you do? Do you have any siblings? What are your parents doing now? All of these things are important, right? So remember that. The next is remember your 3 V's and a B when you're trying to make an assessment, because that's how you'll identify the emotion, meaning, and feeling, right? Next is try to look at their body language when they're sitting, right? So these are a few things for us to remember as we're going to go forward with the next chapter. And as a counselor, remember solar, right? Sit, relax, don't be tense when you're sitting because then you'll make the other person tense. Okay, be relaxed, maintain that eye contact when you're talking, all of these things remember. And we will see how does this work when we meet in the next class, okay? All right. Thank you so much for joining in for the first hour, and I will see you again for the next hour. Thank you.